So that's a wrap of week one of the 2024 Tour de France. I'm going to give you my rest day thoughts and how the first week has gone. Some winners and some losers as well. First things first, what a brilliant week of racing we've had. From Bardet winning and taking his first Maillot jaune on stage one to Anthony Turgis being the envy of the peloton on the gravel. It's been an incredible week of racing. 8 different winners. Gamai, the first black African from Eritrea, being the first double winner of this year's race. 3 of those winners have been from breakaways: Bardet, Vauquelin, and Anthony Turgis. The French are doing well. Pogacar flexing his muscles in the Alps and on the gravel, although the Alps he gained time, the gravel he didn't. And the single reason as to why X are here, Johannes Abrahamsen. Throughout this brilliant, the best week of racing potentially in my lifetime at the Tour de France, and certainly my lifetime watching the Tour, we've had a lot of history as well. First off, Remco Evenepoel has completed the Grand Tour stage wins set. He has, and he did it in fantastic fashion in the individual time trial. Despite fears of a puncture, he took a good chunk of time over his other podium contenders and a decent amount of time over Jonas Vingegaard as well. Of course, that probably won't matter at the end of the race. Furthermore, we had not only have we had double victory from the first black African, we've had Gumai come to dominate the green jersey classification, and history. History was made with Mark Cavendish breaking the record of 35 Tour de France stage wins. I was emotional. Most of the people everywhere that wanted him to win were emotional. I still can't believe he did it. I knew he needed that one chance, and boy, did he get it, and boy, did he take it. Going to take a look at the green jersey now, and first off, the first sort of down moment for not for many, um, is that Alpecin-Deceuninck dominated last year's green jersey in sprints, but this year they've been a shadow of themselves. It was bound to happen at some point, though. They've had seemingly the last 2 to 3 years of just everything going their way. No punctures at Roubaix or Flanders, no issues at the Tour de France, none at the Giro with Van der Poel or Groves and Merlier or Philipsen. So it was bound to happen at some point, and unfortunately for them, it's happened when they're targeting the green jersey. Philipsen, yeah, he was relegated for that deviation, but he hasn't got going at this year's tour. The lead out hasn't got going at this year's tour. And yesterday on the gravel, we had Mathieu Van der Poel. In fact, the whole team had a bit of a stinker. Will they get it right? I don't think they will for the green jersey, but they must be able to pick up at least one stage win. Gamai's dominance has been a brilliant factor of this year's battle for the green jersey. 2 stage wins helped, but his team have really rallied behind him and really made it a viable option to target the green jersey. Gervin Taysons is an excellent shadow sprinter. He could win sprints in his own right, but he's sacrificing potentially all of his chances for Gamai. And the 2 wins he's got have been fantastic wins. One against Groenewegen and Pedersen, the other against Philipsen. Not bad, eh? The other sad note from the green jersey was that Mads Pedersen has pulled out. He crashed during Cav's win. I thought he was fine, to be honest, but clearly he was feeling the effects, and he pulled out before stage 8 sprint. King of the Mountains jersey hasn't really got going yet. Sure, we've had an incredible week of racing from Johannes Abrahamson, but we know when it gets vertical, he isn't going to be in the frame at all. So who out of the riders that have lost time could target the King of the Mountains jersey once we hit the Pyrenees, the finish at Plateau Day, and then the Plateau Dubai stage as well? I think David Gaudu, I think Kevin Vauquelin, and Romain Bardet, the French trio, they've lost time on GC, and I think they could really target the polka dot jersey. FDJ needs something out of this year's tour. Lenny Martinez, they're going to have to hope he gets better. David Gaudu, I think he showed sign of life on the gravel yesterday. Let's hope that he can get into some breakaways and maybe they could get a stage win and maybe they could target the King of the Mountains jersey. And of course, you've got Pogacar, Vingegaard, Ayuso, and whoever else might be up in the top of the GC standing. Onto the battle for yellow now, and it's brilliant to have the big four separated by a minute 36. Not bad for the first week. I think some of them will be happy. I think some would have expected more time. I think some would have expected to be further back. Let's go through and break down each of the GC guys. I'll go from Pogacar all the way sort of Rodriguez and a few others to show you what I think of their first week. Primoz Roglic has shown signs of weakness, but he's still there at the end of the day. Struggled for positioning form on the gravel and San Lucas stage. He was at the back and struggling on the Galibier stage, but he limited his losses very well on the TT, so that is a good sign. And on the power part of the descent, he closed the gap to Rodriguez, then helped close the gap to Vingegaard. So in the end, he's still a minute and 36 seconds behind Pogacar. Surely him and Red Bull would have taken that throughout the first week of the race. There are a few concerns though about his team. Obviously, Vlasov crashed yesterday on the gravel, and bad mark for Red Bull Bora there. They shouldn't have let him carry on, or should have got him on a concussion protocol quickly, rather than just going, "Oh yeah, he's fine, jump on the bike." But Hindley's still there, and Hindley's still looking good. So in the mountains, he's going to be vitally important, even more so if Vlasov does have concussion and has to pull out. I think the happiest rider coming out of the first week will be Jonas Vingegaard. He didn't know what to expect, and to be a minute 15 behind your biggest rival, it ain't bad. Sure, he suffered, cracked on the Galibier and on the power section of the descent. He showed signs of weakness. That's where he lost the majority of his time. On the TT, conceded 30, just under 30 seconds to Pogacar. I think he was expecting more loss there, and obviously more loss in the gravel as well. There will be concerns by his team. I think they were built to get him through the gravel stage. That was the worry for him, and they've done that superbly. Van Aert yo-yoing, but doing a fantastic job. Laporte and Jorgensen closing gaps to Pogacar. It worked. But in the mountains, without Sepkus, they are very, very light. Kelserman needs to step up if he's recovered from his crash and make it so it's not just Matteo Jorgensen going into the final climb or the final group of climbs of a stage. I think another happy guy will be Remco. He's not had the crack yet, and long may that continue. He's been riding very patiently. We haven't seen too many attacks. In fact, we've only seen one. That was on the gravel when he got away in the end with Pogacar and Vingegaard that went nowhere. He's second at the end of the day, 33 seconds off yellow and a minute ahead of his main podium contender in Primoz Roglic. So he's a happy man. I think he'll ride conservatively for the second week and see where he is after that before maybe pushing it a little bit in the final week. But very happy, very pleased with him. He's clearly the third best climber at the race so far. And fine, next one, Tadej Pogacar, the maillot jaune of the first week. He'll be happy because he's in yellow, coming out of the Giro, a minute 15 on biggest rival. But I think he'd have liked more time. They need to sort out the team dynamic with Almeida and Ayuso, work out how they're going to play them for the second weekend in the Pyrenees. But I think he'd have liked to have gained more time. Personally, I think if you stuck one of Ayuso and Almeida on the front on one of the gravel sectors for Pogacar to attack, I think he would have gained time on Jonas Vingegaard on the gravel. But he hasn't. They need to work that out because otherwise there's a chance Vingegaard's going to be let off the hook. And then come the third week, he'll fly. Who knows? Carlos Rodriguez is in a good place. He likes to race hard. So expect to see him at his best in the third week. So for him to be 2.5 minutes off yellow, about a minute 15, a minute 30, somewhere off the podium at this stage isn't bad at all. He's got a strong team that are fully behind him. Sure, Pickup will get some freedom, but on the big stages, it will all be for Carlos Rodriguez, and he will build into the race. So he's had a good start to the Tour this year. Finally, the duo, the dynamic, if you can call it that, duo of Almeida and Ayuso. They're ahead of Rodriguez, but behind Roglic. They've had an interesting race. They have come in as backup, but they are there for the services of Tadej Pogacar, let's not forget. And Almeida did on the Galibier, he didn't on the gravel. Ayuso eventually on the Galibier and didn't on the gravel. So I understand that they're keeping them for the GC, but if there's a point where Pogacar can gain time on Vingegaard, like the gravel, they needed to go all in for that stage. If it meant Ayuso or Almeida were 3.5 minutes back rather than 2 minutes back, so be it. For the second week, I think they need to decide whether they're going to use them aggressively or just ride them to keep pace. Personally, with Visma's weakness, I would use them both as an aggressive option. If on the Plateau Dubai stage, for example, or even on the Tourmalet, you send Ayuso or Almeida up the road with other GC guys, Visma are going to be a bit stuck, and they've clearly got one eye on only one rider, Tadej Pogacar. So it opens the door for an Ayuso or a Remco or Roglic or somebody else to win the Tour de France if Pogacar decides to just abandon it all.